So now let's introduce our guest speaker. She has 22 years corporate leadership across the US and South Africa. After experiencing burnout, her life took a transformative awakening. She decided to learn neuropsychology, yoga, life coaching, you name it, she learned it. I hope she's good.
Thanks.
Okay, what else I must say here? She uses the horses sign wisdom. She wrote this down and I'm saying, by the way, I quickly read it. Hope I can remember everything. So she uses the horse silent wisdom to help her clients develop social and emotional intelligence. She's got a 6-week course, and after the 6 weeks, you are ready. You are ready for a joyful living. You are ready for a sustainable and
Well, basically, it's a signature course, and it's called the Inside Out Transformation. So yes, after those 6 weeks of 6 sessions, there is obviously a bit of a guarantee on that. And yeah, if you want to change your life and change your world permanently, it's the course to do.
there you go. So without further ado, let me introduce this awesome lady, our own KZN horse whisperer, Jax Mendes.
Good morning, everyone. It is just such a pleasure and a delight to be here today. And I just want to give a note of thanks to Ariana. She definitely is filling those big shoes. Adriana, sorry. And of course to Bev for tirelessly making sure that we have these sessions together and get the opportunities to connect and network. It's a very, very special bunch of people, and we're just really grateful for everyone that works behind the scenes to make this happen. And then of course to Grand Exotic, it is just so lovely, and thank you guys for hosting us in this exceptionally beautiful, very charismatic venue. I love the fact that there's nature all around me. It makes me operate from a much different frequency. So thank you so much for providing this, and also to our wine guys. So I'm really hoping after this talk you're not going to need a bottle of wine, but that is definitely something that we can all enjoy and connect and network after I've spoken. So Adriana, thank you so much for the introduction. I am Jax Mendes. I am a Transformational Life Coach. I've been certified through the Mindfit Academy, which is based in Ballito, with the incredible founder and master coach Sharon Castle. In the process of the life coaching, I've also done equine assisted coaching, which is through a company based in Arizona in the US. And that is done in conjunction with my degree, which I've started in neuropsychology through the South African Council of Applied Psychology. Coupled with that, and as it sounds, it's been a busy year. I spent a month in India in Rishikesh, completing my yoga certification after pretty much doing yoga for the last 20 years of my life. So what some of you guys might not know, and probably what is the most important point here, is that I have 5 children. And I had those 5 kids in the space of 6 years, and they were all unplanned. Please can we not talk about the biology of this, and we do have it today. So really, what happened probably about 18 months ago is there was this huge shift, and I moved out of this corporate rat race or hamster wheel. So 22 years of working for forward-thinking nationals, of which there was obviously a huge amount of learning in terms of leadership and building high-performance teams. But what I do now is obviously very different. I do work very closely with a company based in the Dargle Valley of the KZN Midlands called Horseplay, and we do a lot of corporate training there. So taking executive teams to basically build on emotional, it's actually first awareness, and then we build emotional and social intelligence through being facilitated with horse interaction on the ground. So this has been quite a big shift, and there's a reason why there's been a big shift. So this topic today about living in this kind of constant state of stress that we all experienced, or we know loved ones that have experienced. It's not just stress, stress is beautiful brother and sister, depression and anxiety, are always around the corner. So it is a very personal topic for me, and it comes off the back end of many chronic illnesses that I've personally had. So I was never I was designed to have 5 children, but I had cervical cancer at a very young age. And after successive operations, was told when I got engaged that I couldn't have children. So this is obviously a much bigger story, but the point of the story is that from chronic years of flying and looking after the North Americas for Johnson & Johnson, constant stress at a very young age, I ended up in hospital, obviously. So what I'm here to do to you, well, not to you, but what to share with you today is just some profound wisdom from the horses that I've learned, obviously in my coursework, but also on a very personal level. And instead of kind of giving you anatomical or biology lessons, I'm going to try and keep it very based on my own life experiences so that you can visualize and the points can be illustrated a little bit easier than if I was to intellectualize these concepts. Words are very restricted, guys, when you're dealing with the invisible. Okay, so stress. I think what is really important is stress, anxiety, and depression is really just to kind of understand what happens to your body. And we are all designed, and all living organisms are designed to live in short-term stress. You know, it is a survival mechanism. It gets us out of danger. I had an incident a few years ago where I was attacked at my parents' home. And in that moment, I was able to close sliding doors and they couldn't get hold of me with the gun and the knife. I was able to grab my things and so there is a very real reason why we have this incredible mechanism in our body that pretty much releases hormones to allow us to get that energy to respond to these stressful situations. In a short-term space, that's really good. When we look at the horses, there's a very different picture when it comes to survival. And it's also basically that they are herd animals. So what does that mean that they are herd animals? Prey animals, sorry. So prey animals, basically, they've lived their lives in fear of being eaten. Lion hunter, whatever you want to call it. So they have very different neurological systems to us in terms of not having the bulk of our prefrontal cortex, so all our thinking. They have a very big limbic system, so they work a lot with emotions, sensations, body movement, and energy. So they're able to react very, very quickly to any sort of detected danger or sense of danger that they might experience in the wild. It's inbred and it's innate. But what is so incredible about these creatures, and I'll tell you why they are able to do this and we can't do this, well we can, but it's a process, they are able to revert very quickly back to homeostasis after that sense of danger, that threat passes. So if you were to ever do an observation of herd dynamics, you would notice that they will react very fast. They don't have a prefrontal cortex to go through. It's straight to limbic system, straight to muscles, move. Fight, freeze, fight. So the thing is, and the important thing is that they are able to regulate. Okay, straight from that. So this is obviously a really, really good thing to watch, and it's a very good thing to understand and what is holding us back from being able to do the same thing. So we have this wonderful, divinely engineered neurological system that allows us to think. And often what we find is that it's not so much the circumstances or the stress or the boss that's screaming at you or the child that won't listen or the wife that's needing more time. It's not so much the circumstance that you find yourself in that is either stressful, that you feel is really pulling into this level of anxiety or depression. It's more about how you are thinking about that circumstance. Okay? So if we can understand on a very, very simple level that how we create our experience is through our thoughts. And every single one of us have a different lens of how we see reality. Okay? So it's not so much, for example, driving at night, please don't do this, single woman, and you see someone at the red robot, and you start to feel anxious. So what's happening just before that feeling of anxiety? Oh my gosh, I'm going to get attacked. Something's going to happen. I'm going to get hijacked. You are putting on all those lovely stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, and it's pumping through your system. Not only is it not making you in a position to make any good decisions, but you are actually fueling a constant state of stress that in a long term, when this continues to happen on a long-term basis, from your thinking, you actually get these chronic illnesses because the energy used to respond to a situation like that is taken away from the energy for vital resources needed by your organs, your digestive systems, and your immune system. So that is exactly what happened to me, and it's unfortunately, I'm very stubborn, so this has happened quite a few times. And a lot of it is centered around burnout. But I want to just highlight to you guys that in this day and age, the definition of burnout is very work related, but let's be honest. People are burning out not just from work, it's from life. It's never just one thing. There's always a whole bunch of things that we are trying to juggle. So how do we, learning from the horses, how do we find innovative ways? We can't stop our thinking and we can't stop the stress. It is there. But what can we do in our daily life? And I'm not talking about set lists to do every morning in meditations and yoga. All of those things are great. But what I'm saying is in the moment, and as you go through different conflicts and different things, health issues, how can you regulate yourself in the easiest way possible? And what the horses teach us is that the absolute key is to start understanding what it means to live in the present moment. And I know a lot of you have heard about this. You've heard about mindfulness. You've heard about, oh, just be present. Don't think about the past. Don't worry about the future. But what really is it? And what does it mean to be in the present? And why is it so important? So the first thing, being in the present, is a place where there are no problems. It's a place where your body can regulate. It's also the place and the door for you to access something that a lot of us from a transformational coaching perspective talk about, and that is your inner wisdom. So I'm not going to go into that today. I'm really just going to emphasize the first step in this process of trying to regulate yourself out of this constant stress and into more of a kind of wave of balance. Can't take the stress away, but we can manage it better, and we can manage it better in the moment. So instead of having scheduled things to do, there's simple breath work that you can do. And I actually just thought, because this concept is so kind of out there, like what is the present moment? Like what does it feel like to be in there? I thought maybe we could just do a little exercise. And what I really want you to do is, it's a little bit of a game, a cat and mouse game. Okay? So it's going to take about 1 minute or less. And I just want you to really feel what it feels like to be in the present moment, so that you can recognize this when you are doing your awareness and some of the things that I'll go into later. But first of all, I want you to recognize what it feels like to be living in that space. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you to close your eyes, so bear with me. And just get really comfortable. Okay, what I want you to do now is, like I said, a cat and mouse game. And I want you to think of the very next thought that comes out of your head. Very next thought. Keep watching that hole. And you can slowly put up your hands, keep your eyes closed. Slowly put up your hands if the thought is coming. Okay, you can slowly open your eyes. Okay, that took a little bit of time. And a lot of you didn't see a thought coming in. Okay, so that place is the present moment. And you would have probably felt a bit of a void, a bit of a blackness, a bit of a... Anybody? And those people, they did raise their hands and got a thought. You probably were thinking about why my coffee hasn't arrived or ordered 10 minutes ago. Why did I park my car straight? I don't know, there's a lot of cars. Or will this woman at the bank please stop talking so I can drink my wine?
I was thinking, what did I think about? Oh my God, what am I going to think about? I was panicking because I couldn't think about anything other than what I was going to think about.
But that's a good thing. So it's a good thing to be in that moment, because what we tend to do, and there is neuroscience research done, is that we as humans think 70 to 80,000 thoughts a day.
So and that's good and well, and I'm talking a thought is I need to get out of bed and brush my teeth. You know, so there's quite a few thoughts that go through our heads. But what is interesting is that of those thoughts, 80% are 80 to 90% are sitting either in the past or they're sitting in the future. Both elements that we can control. Both elements that contribute to stress, anxiety, and depression. What we then tend to do, because we're so clever, the next day, 60,000 of say 70,000 thoughts are the same thoughts. So what are you doing? You're carving out neural pathways in your brain, and you're going to start automatically responding to things without consciously knowing that you're doing it. And that is the downfall. So yes, we can spend time with horses. So when you are managing a horse, there is no way on this planet you can be thinking about other stuff when you are trying to train 700 kg beast. Not going to happen. So they very quickly teach you how to empty your mind and to become very, very present. They also work on a different level of non-verbal communication. So when I'm training a horse and I'm getting angry and I shout, will you please just relax? That ain't gonna fly. Okay. So working with horses allows you access to being more present. And that presence is that gap in your day where you can just be at a level of homeostasis where those chemicals are not pumping and they're not causing long-term damage in your physiological state and your psychological state. Okay? This doesn't mean that you have to be with horses to be in this. There is some simple exercises that you can do, and I like to call it watching the dance. So these exercises you can do in your day. So I had an incident a few weeks ago, and I don't have a very stable relationship with taxi drivers. And had a car full of kids, and a taxi driver comes in, and in that moment, I had to really, really start breathing, get very, very present, and kind of get my heart rate down. And this kind of leads to the next thing that we learn. When we're able to get very present, we're also able to slow down, and we're also able to, instead of knee-jerk reaction to things, we start to do something called an intentional response. And that's the power of the pause. So number one with the horses, they teach you awareness, and it is absolutely critical because it is your self-regulation. And as we all know, self-regulation or self-mastery is got a much bigger purpose from the impact you have on the community and other people, your businesses and your home life. Okay. So I just want to go back to this intentional response. So I had an incident with my daughter, meltdown, cell phone as usual, and instead of jumping in, talking more, etc., I take myself out of the situation and I apply this profound pause. I give her time to regulate, I give myself time to regulate. She doesn't normally get this, I get this. And then I come back into the room. In that process of giving that space and that pause, the way I respond is far, far more constructive than if I just reacted in the moment. Okay. And in the moment, which is when the stress hormones are pumping. So I'm kind of coming out of that environment so that the engagement can be constructive and not destructive. Okay. And what is also so incredible is so one, awareness of your thoughts. Number two, it's going to be intentional response, the power of the pause. And number three, and this is a huge one when it comes to working with horses, is co-regulation. So as I mentioned before, horses work, they obviously don't speak English or any language. So their basic communication is non-verbal. So we're talking energy, body language, sensations, sounds, tone, that type of thing. Okay. And psychologists have actually researched this and found that even with human beings, only 10% of the way we communicate with each other is actually done here. We're not aware and actually what is happening with the other 90%. Okay. So this is the really, really big thing that's happening with horses, is that because they are such present beings, they don't have that neurological component of having to sit through before you can feel calm. They are able to regulate heart rates through their heart's electromagnetic field up to 10 meters away.
So as you arrive at the horse, they are calm, their heart rate is low, their blood pressure is low. They are transferring that energy to you. And that is why equine therapy and equine coaching and all of that has become so big in the last 2 decades. Because people have picked up on this. I'm sure a lot of you have probably seen the likes of Candice Webster, who's in Plet, who does healing with horses in the forests of Plettenberg Bay. She's using something called heart resonance, which is exactly what I'm talking about here, which is the transference of incredible presence and energy to another being that happens unconsciously. But the power in this lesson is to understand how we are impacting other people and then to understand why self-regulation is so important. We often think that self-care and self-love is a selfish thing, like it's about me and I need to do what I want to do and I need to exercise. And it's actually not. It just doesn't work like that. By mastering yourself, you are, without actually doing anything, co-regulating and giving back to those people around you. And it is coming from that electromagnetic field of your heart. Okay. So this is really, really important. You can walk into an environment with your children that is incredibly conflict-driven. And just because you've done your self-regulation, they automatically mimic your heart rate, and they don't even realize it's happening. So that's kind of the importance of this, and it's something that the horses teach all the time. There's obviously a huge amount more when it comes to non-verbal communication that even leaders in business are exploring. So how do we lead our businesses and how do we lead our teams with more an element of heart-centered leadership and more an element of non-verbal communication, which is basic presence. Okay, so these are big concepts, guys. I think my main thing today, that if you can take away anything from today, is really just to understand how important presence is and how important awareness is, and that it is the first step. Understand what is happening in bodies, understand the energy transfer to loved ones, team members, take profound pauses, intentionally be aware of your thoughts and your feelings. Don't fight them, don't resist them. Just notice them and let them go and move on with your day. This isn't big meditation, this isn't something you have to do on a checklist. This is something you can do like me in the traffic, or running between school fields, or jumping on multiple horses, doing yoga poses. You can use it anywhere and anytime. It is available to you. Okay, so I hope this probably was very different. I didn't come and tell you that stress is going to be cured by more exercise, 8 glasses of water a day, 8 hours sleep. It's a little bit more complicated, but I hope you understand the power of the horses and how they can facilitate this movement to greater awareness and greater regulation, but that you're also inspired that this can also be done without the horses. Another element is spending time in nature. It's a very similar energy that you'll get from, especially from the horses. So thank you so much, guys.
Does anybody have questions for her? No questions.
That's why you just tell us a bit more about your 6-week course, please.
Sure.
Okay, so I have a signature course. I'll try to keep everything quite simple because I am obviously doing work with Horseplay in the Midlands, which is a little bit of a drive and juggling 5 kids. So there are 2 courses that I have from a life coaching perspective that you can do one-on-one, and that is either online or offline. It is a 6-week session package, and that really kind of goes through, there's a bit of an overlap. The transformational coaching that kind of I've been trained in, and in terms of really do believe in, is actually based, mine's it's got a little bit of the horse wisdom in it, but it's also on a very, very strong base of 3 principles coaching. So what we do, and generally, is we'll start with a discovery session, and then we will set intentions, we don't set goals, and every session we also make sure that there's space for what shows up. So there's quite a big difference with transformational coaching versus the normal transitional coaching. It's not about telling you guys what you need to do or what you should do or what you shouldn't do, etc., etc. It is first and initially about connecting and creating a container of love and safety so that you are heard. I can't tell you how many problems in this world come from disconnection and loneliness, and it's getting worse with the advent of digital evolution. It is the beginning and the end of all. And we pretty much move through different topics. So I can't tell you that there is a huge amount of structure. It is very customized to the person and the challenges that they're navigating. It's something where us as transformational coaches create space so that you can find your own solutions and your own unique solutions to your life, and then be held accountable to that by your coach, and get that encouragement and love the whole way through it. So there's a lot of people that come and they're going through breakups or divorces. There's a lot of people, a lot of teenagers that come, dealing with anxiety and depression is very, very common, unfortunately. There's so many different elements that we can consider in the sessions, but I am guided by something bigger than me, and I make sure that I can create that space so you can actually find that wisdom too, because that is really what will create that permanent change. So we don't want you to come in and I want to move from A to B. So this is not an A to B linear process when it comes to transformational coaching. It's a vertical process. Okay. And it's more about the middle portion, less about getting to the end goal. Okay. So we want to see changes happening that day. We don't want to be waiting until we feel better when we get to be. So yeah.